Sup flappers, welcome to another video brought to you by Vaporize. So today we are going to be talking about Yoimiya versus Hu Tao. Now this is not really a who should you pull or whatever video, but really a direct comparison, because I think personally that a lot of people are going to be looking at Yoimiya as a main carry, and who else better to compare her with than the current top premier pyro DPS carry, which is Hu Tao. Now, one of the first questions that comes to mind is, well, Walrus, what makes you think Yoimiya is going to be a main DPS? Now, hold your horses, alright? And let me tell you, forget what people are telling you regarding Yoimiya being incapable of being a main DPS or she's more fitted for support. Yoimiya can indeed be a superb main DPS. Although I am not known as the math guy, today I will try to slide some math for you here and there, alright? Just don't expect too much to prove my points, essentially, that in a head-to-head comparison, Yoimiya's DPS may not lose to Hu Tao in certain scenarios. This all stems from the fact that for the vast majority of people, Hu Tao's DPS may be inconsistent, as not only is it single target, but you run the risk of missing or failing certain animation cancels. For the people who play Hu Tao, you would know what I mean. Even if you have your face planted against certain enemies, there will be times where you simply miss due to poor targeting by the system. Now, looking at Yoimiya, we can say that while the auto-targeting system for bow users isn't perfect, you at the very least will get the hit onto the enemies. Going one step further, Yoimiya's on-hit damage multiplier is one of the highest in the game. At least that's what it was like in the trial character. It's so high, in fact, that it's comparable to Diluc's talent level 6 full combo, which comes to a whopping 594% damage, and Yoimiya's full combo comes out to be 585%, both of which takes around 3 seconds to fully finish as well. So you can kind of figure out for yourself just how powerful she can be with her on-hit attacks. Now, back to comparison with Hu Tao. I feel that one of the most obvious comparison Yoimiya has to Hu Tao is the fact that they are both capable of pyro application, but the difference between the two are quite apparent. Whereas Hu Tao can apply 4 times pyro application, in that same time frame Yoimiya can apply it for 7 times, which ultimately makes Xingqiu not a good Vaporize partner for Yoimiya, as she simply attacks too fast. Now, just because Yoimiya has slight compatibility issues with Xingqiu doesn't mean they don't make a good team. In fact, in my honest opinion, it's still viable and preferred to run Xingqiu with Yoimiya if you want to run a Vaporize team. So a team that I highly recommend would be to run Yoimiya as the main DPS, followed by Xingqiu support DPS, Ben and healer, and then you can throw in Beidou for support. This team follows a similar concept with Hu Tao, but with variation to one main reaction that we have yet to take full advantage of until now, and that is overload. It's safe to say that as a bow user, Yoimiya will be able to bypass the issue of having to chase after mobs sent flying by overload, ultimately being able to utilize the 40% bonus damage from the 4-piece switch set, as well as maximizing her DPS window. With most of the similarities out of the way, let's look at Yoimiya and Hu Tao's burst skill. Now, from the trial character, it was revealed that Yoimiya's burst skill has relatively low on-hit scaling compared to Hu Tao, meaning unlike Hu Tao's burst, it's not really used as a nuke. Instead, Yoimiya's burst applies marks on enemies and allow her teammates to proc the marks, causing a large AoE explosion, dealing similar damage to Yoimiya's original burst skill. This explosion has an internal CD of 2 seconds and can be procced by any forms of attack. What this essentially does is it opens opportunities for players to run a double carry comp, which is similar to the Hu Tao child comp but accessible to any unit you want. For example, you love Zhao, well, consider a double carry team with Yoimiya. You like Kaching, say no more. How about Eula? No problem. It's versatility like this which should really open eyes for people when it comes to Yoimiya. While Yoimiya cannot out DPS Hu Tao most likely, she can come close, and also she doesn't need you to play around any HP mechanics or lose out DPS due to mistargeting. One of the other reasons Yoimiya should be compared to Hu Tao is that Yoimiya has a passive skill which increases her teammates' attack percentage, while Hu Tao has a passive skill which increases her teammates' crit rate. It's aspects of their kit like this which makes me think that miHoYo is taking the success of Hu Tao and carrying it forward while being careful with tuning the numbers to not create another Ganyu situation. Now, while many people are saying that they are skipping Yoimiya to get the Raiden Shogun, but personally I anticipate that they might make a good pairing for each other. It's not uncharacteristic of miHoYo to make back-to-back characters that suits each other's playstyles, especially when monitoring Yoimiya's burst skill fitting a dual carry playstyle. One cannot help but to think, how will she pair with the Raiden Shogun in an overload team? But wait, there's more. So pause the video right now and tell me, what do you think Yoimiya's kit was designed for her role to be? Main DPS, support DPS, what about support? If you look at her skill, do you think that Yoimiya's ideal playstyle is to use her E, auto attack, then use her burst, and switch to another carry to proc the explosions, meaning Yoimiya is an off-field support, right? Well, here's the thing, people. We have characters in the game currently whom are all capable as off-field carries. Xingqiu, Fischl, Ganyu. These are all characters that can deal main carry levels of damage while being completely off-field. Who is to say that Yoimiya cannot use her burst skill first and then use her elemental skill, for example, right? You can use Yoimiya's burst and then you switch out, use Venti's burst, and then switch back to Yoimiya, activate her E, and continue doing DPS. Venti's burst should be calculated as foreign damage source, which ultimately should be proccing Yoimiya's burst skill every 2 seconds, while Yoimiya remains on the field and doing damage while her burst skill is causing explosions every 2 seconds. Now, also with Venti's Vortex pulling all the enemies together, you are also maximizing the explosion damage. So is this not a viable way to play Yoimiya as a main DPS? Well, I don't know. I'm just spitballing, right? The same can be done with Ganyu burst, right, or Xingqiu burst, or Fischl E, and even Albedo E, I believe. Ultimately, we should understand that Yoimiya's maximum damage potential is when paired with another off-field carry to maximize her burst skill while she herself remains on-field doing damage. So with this playstyle, you can also pair Yoimiya with Electro MC for that fat energy recharge to upkeep this high burst playstyle. Now finally, let's return back to the Hu Tao comparison. If you take into account that both of them are capable main DPS units and using the playstyle I mentioned earlier, it's safe to say that the difference at C0 will likely not be too big. If I had to say, Hu Tao probably will still edge out on top simply due to her high scaling. But the difference will not be that big. And it's miHoYo we're talking about here, so they're not going to make the difference too stark as to make people skip Yoimiya just for a Hu Tao rerun. They want to make money, right? Do remember though, it's quite easy for Hu Tao to miss out on the potential damage while also being weak against grouped enemies. Also, Hu Tao cannot take advantage of one of the best burst skills in the game, which is Venti's burst, while Yoimiya actually can take advantage of Venti's burst. Not to mention, Yoimiya has access to overload while Hu Tao does not, simply due to overload causing Hu Tao's DPS to become even more inconsistent due to the constant dashing and chasing after enemies. Also, do know that Yoimiya has great synergy with our most unluckiest adventurer, Mr. Bennett, while Hu Tao has counter merits with Bennett. She wants to keep her HP below 50% and Bennett heals people up to 70%, and Yoimiya doesn't care about this so much, right? Now, if you've watched all the way to this point, just know that this is all just speculation. I think Yoimiya likely has parts to her kit that we simply have not figured out yet. It's up to the community to playtest her and see whether these theories hold up any value. For people who are willing to see Yoimiya showcase, consider liking and subscribing, as I am looking forward to playtesting her and showing you exactly her full potential and applying everything I've said here to her kit. With that said, I'm going to leave the video here and you guys can choose how you want to play Yoimiya, whether you're pulling her, whether you're skipping her. Best of luck to you all on your summons, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, stay safe and peace.